Nuestro personal calificado va hasta su domicilio a recogerlo de forma totalmente gratis. La donación de su automóvil, camioneta o SUV viejo ayuda a apoyar a las personas afectadas por el cáncer de mama, así como también al trabajo vital de Comen en investigación, atención al paciente y educación. Necesitamos su ayuda. Tal vez considere que su auto viejo es chatarra o que no vale nada, pero ese auto no deseado es importante para que Susan G. Komen continúe ayudando a las personas con cáncer de mama. Llame al número en pantalla hoy. Iremos a recoger su auto rápidamente. También recibirá una deducción de impuestos por su donación caritativa. Ayúdenos a ayudar. Llame ya.
Welcome back to Be Productive. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had a moment where you go to your computer and the system is down, it can wreak havoc on your whole day. And as business owners, one of the ways we need to stay productive is make sure that our technology is protected so we can be protected. So, we're going to talk about the power of having a virtual operating system and expert helping to protect us and our system. So, welcome to the show, my guest, Greg Schaefer. Greg, welcome. It's so good to have you here.
It's great to be back.
It is terrifying when you go to your computer and things are not the way it wants. And, you feel so lost, alone. And,
Mhm.
that's why it's so important to be able to have experts like you making sure these things don't happen and that we are protected. So, as a business owner, especially as a newer business or a small business, getting set up, sometimes we think we don't have the finances or the bandwidth to protect ourselves with someone who's going to oversee the cybersecurity angle of our business.
Mhm.
So, how can a small business manage, and be able to bring on someone like yourself with limited resources?
Well, I think the one of the examples that happened not too long ago, and affected computers worldwide, was the CrowdStrike issue. And really resolving the issue was something relatively simple, at least to us IT and information security folks. You just delete a file. Well, if you tell somebody else that just delete a file, that gets to be a little bit onerous. We're no longer in the day where people are used to long time ago of command line interfaces and all of that. So when it comes to like resources, it's sometimes the simplest things that are needed to be able to make sure that you can remain and retain your productivity. With regards to outside resources, there's really like two buckets in this particular case for helping small and mid-sized businesses. One would be on the absolute technical side, and so making sure that you have a relationship with like a managed service provider that can help you with these technical issues when they come up. They can easily come in if you've set up a relationship with them beforehand. They can usually remotely come into your machine, take care of what they need to take care of, and then get back out. In the CrowdStrike issue, that would have been a little bit more complicated, but this is just more in general. Now, the second part is the virtual CISO, which looks at the risks, for example, if you were down because of the CrowdStrike issue. Well, how would you continue your business? How could you make sure that this doesn't happen again? And the virtual CISO is a really just a part-time consultant that you have. You can either have a long-term relationship with them or somebody on retainer, that you basically have somebody to call in case one of these things actually ends up happening.
Yeah. Tell me more about this concept of a virtual, VCISO, because I would think some people might be hesitant and worried that if they're not here locally, how can they really help me? So, talk to us a little bit about, this concept and how beneficial it can be, especially to a small business with limited funds.
Well, in general, we work remotely, and with COVID, everybody got used to the idea of working remotely, and remote meetings, remote uh, something like this, all of that. But before COVID, it wasn't quite as ubiquitous. So I like to say that when I started as a virtual CISO back 7+ years ago, I was virtual before virtual was cool. And one of the challenges with being virtual is that you don't have that human interaction. But a lot of that now has changed because of COVID, because we've learned now to create and nurture and sustain and enhance relationships virtually. And that makes it easier on my part because any security person involved with security and risk, they really, really work on relationship building, because ultimately folks within the organization are our eyes and our ears for things that are risks and might be going wrong. So the way that this usually works as a virtual CISO is relatively simple. It's some measure of hours per month, sometimes on retainer, sometimes on a long-term engagement. We prefer um, a longer-term engagement just because it takes a while to get to learn your business, for example. So you're on that engagement anywhere between, say, 5 and 40 hours a month, and they're your security officer. They're the same function in your organization as the larger organizations that have a full-time chief information security officer. They perform the same actions, but they also have different skill sets because they're also consultants, and they also have to understand the unique needs of small and mid-sized businesses.
Yeah. So, I could see a small business thinking, or even a solopreneur thinking, I don't need this. What are some of maybe the most common challenges that can arise for a solopreneur, a small business that they may not be thinking of, that they really need to be thinking of? So, what are some of the most challenges that we could have as small business owners that we really need someone like you to help us and to look out for us?
Now, I think the largest challenge is sometimes looking at information security as purely like a technical IT issue. And what ends up happening then is they get into the mindset of, well, I have a firewall, I have antivirus or some sort of other agent on my machine. I get reports saying that I'm secure and everything's fine. And that's part of the equation there. But really, anybody who's running a business, whether you're a solopreneur or a small business or up to, a couple hundred employees, and then up beyond that, you have the everybody has the same goals. Running a business is all about managing risk, and information security is just another component of that. So one of the biggest challenges for the small businesses to understand that this isn't solely a technical issue, that it really is just like managing risk in any other aspect of your business. Well, what am I going to spend, for example, in this quarter on marketing? You have to have sort of a level. Don't have unlimited funds to spend on ads, which would be great if you did. But on the flip side, you need to be able to get your name out there in order to get business. It's the same thing with security.
Okay, interesting. Just a great concept because, again, I think so many times we think we're too small for something like this when really, we need it because if we are going to grow and scale, we need
Mhm.
to be able to have these things. So, as a business owner, what would be some of the first steps that they might want to think about in talking with someone like you to assess, what they need?
Well, they again, getting back to what we were just talking about as far as understanding and thinking about growth, because a lot of times, particularly if you're providing services to other businesses, they're going to want to know what it is that they're the security posture of the business that they're working with.
Sure.
So sometimes you have to go through that investment to be able to show that to partners. That's a very common element among a lot of SMBs. Now, as far as what they need to do is to grow in their security posture, one of the first things is you need to understand where all of your information is. There's a truism in information security is that you can't protect what you don't know about. Sometimes we fall into the trap of saying, well, I'm using this particular service as a service provider, and as soon as my information goes up there, we'll use QuickBooks as an example. QuickBooks Online, it's a fairly popular SMB accounting software, and everything's in the cloud. Well, it's okay, I send my accounting information into the cloud, they're responsible for it, they're responsible for my customers, my clients' accounting information. Well, not really. Just because you've now transferred this information to a service in the cloud, you're still responsible for its security. So you need to make sure that you're looking at the security of the business that you're contracting with. So really, it comes down first, understand where your information is. Now, from a cyber perspective, you want to make sure that you're protecting your infrastructure. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make sure that your machines, your computers are patched and up to date. I know sometimes people
Mhm.
might be thinking, well, I don't want to put my patches on right now because it's like I know it's going to reboot my machine and this is not the best time for it to happen. So they turn off automatic updates and installation. They say they'll get back to it. And then several months later, they'll come back to it. And I'm talking about myself. I found out that I had done that. I realized I needed to turn it off for a moment. And I was like 4 months behind on my patches. Shame on me, right?
Right.
As a security professional. And that's lesson learned. Number three there, it's that anybody and everybody's vulnerable because as business owners, we are focused on growing our business first and making sure that the
Mhm.
business stays in line. So it's a lesson learned that we all, myself included, continuously have to continue to teach
True.
and ourselves.
Oh, so true. So I have one last question. We have about a minute and a half left. How do we weigh sort of the cost versus the effectiveness? How do we kind of balance that out so we know we're getting what we need?
That's a risk management question and a good one. It's difficult to weigh. It's you if you can figure out, for example, how much will I lose if I'm down for 2 days?
Yeah.
And then how much will it cost to put in a system that will mitigate the risk of being down for 2 days? You can do some sort of a mini calculation there. You can show some return on investment there. You don't want to weigh too far on one side as well too. It's not, again, I
Mhm.
said it's not just all a technology thing. Sometimes some of the best things you can do are free from a cost perspective, a monetary perspective, but they take time, like building proper policies and making sure you're following them.
Mhm.
We talk about making sure that you're doing the basics in information and cybersecurity, making sure that you're managing your user access rights, your mentioned patching before. All of these things will help to make your business more secure because what's the goal in the end? We want to not only stay from away from being down, we want to be as productive as possible.
Absolutely. Yes, we do. You know, it just sounds like the best step really is just talking with an expert like yourself to really start to assess the needs that we have. So, if people out there want to get a hold of you, Greg, what's the best way for them to find and reach out with you?
Or just go to our website, vcsoservices.com. And on the website there, there's a button that you can click to set up an appointment with us. It's free consultation, 15 minutes. There's phone number there too, if you prefer the old fashioned way. Or you can always email us at info@vcsoservices.com.
Beautiful. You know, Greg, you always give us so much to think about. And I think, especially the thing that stood out for me so much from this segment was exactly what you just said is really analyze what is going to be the cost of lost productivity, lost
Mhm.
business if your system goes down. And I think, we have to look at these things and we have to be more proactive in setting ourselves up. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that are watching, I hope that you took away great value. Make sure that you are protecting yourself, protecting your business, because when things go wrong, it's really hard to stay productive. So stay tuned because we'll be back for more of the show.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now. Call 855-993
2096 right now. That's 855 993 2096.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives. If you're struggling with your own tax nightmare, we've got great news. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now, you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
Welcome back to Be Productive. One of the things that we don't talk enough about is emotional intelligence. Our ability to show up, to connect with people, and have true connections can really drive greater performance with our teams, build better connections with our customers, and really just definitely impact in a positive way the overall arcing of our bottom line. So, we're going to be talking about how leadership can embrace emotional intelligence in helping them drive greater productivity. And to help me with this conversation, I am bringing emotional intelligence expert Nadine Zanoon to the show. Nadine, it is so good to have you again.
Me too, Clara. I feel so energized when I'm gonna come on the show with you.
I love that. And that's what we want. We want those talks that really matter. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
our ability to truly connect, have that level of empathy. As leaders, how can we use our own emotional intelligence to help drive productivity with our team, especially when we are in high pressure situations?
That's a very good example because it's during high pressure situations that our emotional intelligence is actually tested. So
Mhm.
what usually happens, when people are stressed, if there are a lot of deadlines, change, anything that might cause a stress to leaders, what happens is if a leader is not emotionally intelligent and not aware that he is stressed or she is stressed at this moment, then they won't know how to cope with the situation. What would happen is their stress, or let's say, for example, they want to meet a certain deadline. Okay. So their drive to meet the certain deadline, their thoughts about, oh, if we miss the deadline, what will happen? And all this will catastrophize the whole situation. And
Right.
this will intensify the emotion. And what will happen is they start being harsh on people, they start being, directive, stubborn, they don't listen. They lose that and they don't notice because they think that they're doing this because the situation calls for this. But
Mhm.
actually, it's their stress and internal dialogue that is intensifying the stress that is making them behave in this way.
Yeah.
So my advice to leaders is when you are in stressful situations, pause. I know it's weird, but pause and think, reflect. How am I being impacted by the stress?
Mhm.
Me, myself, what's going on in me? What's happening in me? Acknowledge those emotions that you're going through, because whether you like it or not, the emotions are going to impact your behavior, and you're going to end up being the leader that you don't want to be and
Yeah.
showing up as the leader that you don't want to show up as.
It's so true. And as you're saying these things, I can reflect on my own growth as a leader. And when I was what I call a baby leader early on, I didn't have high emotional intelligence. And I was, when you use that word directive, that was me. I was like, this is the result. Let's go and do this. And I couldn't understand why everybody just wasn't working. And I started getting the feedback that, well, Clara doesn't really care. And it
Yeah.
broke my heart because if they knew me, they knew how much I cared. But because
Yeah.
I lacked the emotional intelligence and the awareness of it, I wasn't showing up in a way that was, again, opening them up. I was actually, shutting them down even more. So it was a really, really good moment for me to learn and really check in with my own self. So
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Clara. And I love how your intentions were really good. So it's not that the leader is a bad person or they don't have good intentions. Most of the time, the leaders have good intentions, but these intentions, they don't come off. They don't show up to people. People don't get them. Why? Because they lack the emotional awareness, and not only emotional awareness, emotional expression.
Yeah.
So if I'm aware of my emotions, how will that help me as a leader? It would help me in these situations because I would be able to communicate these emotions to people around me. It's not that I'm going to stress them out, but I'm going to acknowledge that this is a difficult situation. We're going through a tough time. I'm even going through a tough time. I'm with you on this. And when you understand that and you connect with people and you open up that space for them to also talk about what they're feeling and what they're going through, then all of this will create a very strong, empathetic culture that brings people together. And then as a whole, they start working together on finding solutions and becoming innovative and creative.
exactly. And that's really what we want. I want to hit on this concept of accountability because
Mhm.
Part of a leader's job is to get results, and
Of
we
course.
do have to hold our people accountable. But we also know that the word accountability can have a very negative connotation. And again, we have to be able to use this. So, talk to me a little bit about how a leader can build empathy, especially when delivering messages or having to be accountable with their people, and do it in a way that, again, is going to open them up rather than shut them down.
Yeah, many people think that there's a conflict between accountability and empathy, but there isn't a conflict. They can go together. And the thing is, you don't need you don't have to be soft on the results. Okay, on the contrary, but be clear about the what you expect. So a lot of times leaders do not really say what they want, or they expect people to understand, and they expect them to know what is expected from them. And this causes a lot of confusion, and people will not be able to deliver. So the first thing, clarify those objectives, clarify expectations. Okay, and once you're very clear in every single detail about that, and you hear them out and you listen to them and make sure that they got what you're
Mhm.
asking for, then just monitor and agree ahead of time that we're going to be following up, we're going to be sitting together. I need you to do this. If not, this is what's going to happen. When you're clear about what are the expectations, and if the expectations are not met, what will happen, this will make things very obvious for people, and it won't surprise them in any way. And then empathy is about giving them a chance to listen to them as well. So sometimes people do not meet the expectations. If I approach them in a judgmental and harsh manner, and I'm here to reprimand them, of course they're going to feel threatened and they're not going to be happy about it.
Right.
However, just listen to them. And listening to them doesn't mean I'm going to say, okay, and forget about the results. No, but I'm going to see what was difficult about, getting these results. Where did they go wrong? What happened? Maybe they're going through a tough situation. I would just listen to them and don't expect that, sometimes leaders are afraid to listen to them, to their personal problems, because they think that they're expected to fix their problems. They're not. That's not empathy. I'm not going to fix your problem if I'm empathetic with you. I'm just going to hear you out and make you feel validated that I hear you. I know what you're going through. I understand this is tough. And then, after you empathize with them, they are now in a mood to readily start problem solving. So then you just have to ask them, okay, so what are we going to do? We can't accept these results. You know that this is what's, required of us. So what are you going to do about it? And have them set their own action plan. If you listen to them, believe me, 99% of the time, the people are going to become resourceful again, and they're going to be able to find a solution.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, they're not happy. They're not happy about the results as well.
Exactly. And this again puts them back in where they are providing the solution. And when they have that ownership, again, they're going to show up
Exactly.
very differently. So I think that's great. I also want to ask, what are some of maybe the most common pitfalls that leaders need to be aware of that could really hinder productivity and a leader's ability to drive effective productivity and revenue?
I think the first thing, I always go back to emotional self-awareness, okay? Because I believe this is like so important, and it's lacking and lagging behind in many, many leaders. So it's about understanding how your emotions are going to drive you to behave with your people. This is the first thing. And another thing is noticing what's going on. Read the room. Think about it. If you can't read the room, because sometimes we can't, ask. Very simply, ask, what are you feeling? How's it going for you? A lot of times people expect others to feel what they feel. So leaders, if they're excited about something, they expect everyone to be excited. If they manage their stress, they expect everyone to be able to manage their stress in the same way. But that doesn't happen. We're different. And it's not because I'm a bad person and you're a good person or vice versa. It's because we are different. We address things differently. We feel differently about things. We see things differently. So all the leader has to do is just notice that there may be a difference and open up to listening. Listening is key. It's key.
It really is. And I love that idea of read the room. Again, just pause for a moment, like you said, and get the feel, the energetic feel, watch the body language. Again, listen with all of your senses and, really key in on that. I always love examples. I think, people learn from examples. Can you think of a leader that embodies so many of the good qualities? Again, I know there's no perfect leader, but can you think of an example of a leader that really embodies high emotional intelligence that you can share with us so that we can have a really good example to follow?
Sure. The first leader that comes to my mind is Jesus. But if I don't want to get into that, because maybe some people don't have the same faith as I do, but I would say Satya Nadella, so the CEO of Microsoft. So when he came on board, there were layoffs in Microsoft, and it was a tough time. And he noticed that the first communication that went out about the layoffs was harsh, and he recognized that people took it very aggressively. And what I love is that he noticed.
Yeah.
So he recognized that. He listened, he heard, and he was humble enough to redirect the message. So he noticed, that's the empathy. He's humble, that's self-awareness. And he redirected, so he sent out a different message, which was very empathetic, and he was very cautious about, the terms he used, so that it showed that he was not comfortable with the situation.
Yeah.
So this is the emotional self-awareness and the emotional expression. He was not comfortable, and he sent out this communication, which really showed that this was a harsh decision. It was a difficult decision, but it was inevitable. They had to do it for the company. But he felt really bad for the people. So he showed the emotion. It was a very emotional thing, and it connects with people. It's not going to change reality. Yeah, it's not gonna, but it makes me feel respected. If I'm losing my job, at least I feel like I'm a human, I'm respected, and it doesn't impact my self-confidence to go find another job.
Absolutely. Again, it's bringing in the human element
Yeah,
and not treating people like a number, but
exactly.
giving them the recognition as, again, a human. So, Nadine, this has just been an amazing conversation. So many just moments of clarity in your talk. And I know that as people are following, they're going to want to connect with you. You know, they're going to want to follow you on social media. They might even want to hire you to come in and work with them. So, where's the best place for people to find and connect with you?
I think the easiest way is to go to my website. So it's my website is www.nadinezainoun, as it's written here on the screen. So nadinezainoun.com. And over there on the website, there's a book in a call. They can just go and book in a free coaching session. So let them come prepared with the objective they want to achieve, and we'll help them achieve that during the session.
Beautiful. Oh, Nadine, thank you again for being here. And for all of you that are following, I really hope that you leaned into some of these key items of, again, listening, you know, making sure that we are empowering our people to set their own accountability standards, and we are there to guide them with them. And again, sometimes it's okay to just take a pause, get your engagement, get your energy back, so that you can approach every conversation with the human element and really check your own emotional awareness. So thanks for following this segment, and stay tuned because we will be back for even more Be Productive.
Soy un no abogado portavoz representando a un equipo de abogados que están listos para ayudar a personas que han padecido de lesiones o han sido agraviadas. Si estuvo involucrado en un accidente de automóvil o motocicleta, tiene derechos y es posible que pueda recibir compensación monetaria por su sufrimiento. No acepte cualquier oferta de las compañías de seguros hasta que hable con un abogado. Puede ser representado por alguno de los mejores abogados de lesiones personales del país. Abogados de sobrenombre que jugarán su reputación para ganar su caso. Y si no ganan, no cobran. Por lo tanto, si ha sufrido de un accidente de auto o motocicleta, llame ahora y descubra hoy mismo de qué tipo de compensación puede tener derecho. Recuerde, contamos con algunos de los mejores abogados de lesiones personales del país, listos para luchar por usted. Y si no ganan su caso, no cobran. Llame a la línea de ayuda legal ahora mismo.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Este es Juan. Juan quiere su televisor nuevo y esta noche viene a su casa para llevárselo. Pero no si su hogar está protegido por Seguro en Casa. Disfrute la posibilidad de monitorear toda su casa las 24 horas del día, 7 días a la semana. No solo por robos, sino también por incendios, monóxido de carbono, inundaciones y emergencias. Una solución inteligente que combina la seguridad del hogar con la automatización y le permite controlar, monitorear y modificar su hogar y sus necesidades de seguridad para adaptarse a su estilo de vida. Arme, desarme o verifique el estado de su sistema desde cualquier lugar, en cualquier momento. Comience a disfrutar de protección integral para el hogar por tan solo $27.99 al mes, incluyendo equipos de seguridad gratis por un valor de $850. Llame ahora mismo e incluiremos esta tarjeta de regalo Visa de $100 como nuestro obsequio especial para usted. Llame al número que ve en pantalla ahora mismo para proteger a su familia.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Welcome back to Be Productive. Are you aware that we get distracted about every 3 minutes? The scarier thing is it takes us about 15 to 20 minutes to get our focus back. Most of us are managing distractions with this concept of multitasking. What we're talking about in this next segment is exactly that. How do we face distractions and how do we move through them so that we truly can show up at our highest level of productivity? And to help me with this conversation is my friend, Rob Tripp. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Clara. Thanks for having me on. I love being with you, so thank you very much.
Yes, this is a hot button because so many people tell me, that the best way for them to get more done in their day is that they are excellent at multitasking. You are a productivity specialist just like myself. When I say to you, multitasking, what's your response to that?
Oh my gosh. If I hear someone say they're going to multitask, I'm going to scream and run out of the room.
Mhm.
All multitasking means is that you figured out how to be non-productive with 10 things versus one thing. The human
Absolutely.
brain cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. So if you have 10 different things lying around, then what's going to happen is it's going to take you 10 times as long, and you're much more likely to have errors with each one of those things than if you just focus. Prioritize the most important thing first, knock it out, then move to the next one. Knock it out, then move to the next one. You can't do 10 things at one time. It's impossible for the human brain to do it.
Absolutely. Again, and that's what it is multitasking. And it has been scientifically proven multitasking does not work. And like you said, it'll take you 2 to 10 times longer and you're going to do it with greater error. So we might be delivering results, but they're not going to be good results when we're trying to do that. One of the reasons I think we are working in this realm is because of distractions. And, we get distracted all the time, whether it's incoming emails, the phone ringing, people coming into our offices, the little gotta minutes here, gotta minutes there. All of those things are happening. And quite frankly, the distractions are not going to go away. So, how do you work with your clients in helping them to one, acknowledge the distractions that they are dealing with, and maybe what are the most popular distractions that are out there? And then how do you help them with strategies to face and sort of manage those distractions?
So, the human brain is not good at prioritizing things. Everything is urgent. And when it comes up, it's urgent. You're driving along the highway, at 75 miles an hour, a phone call. Okay, that's not a priority. But to your brain, you have to go over and grab the phone. Okay, everything's priority with your brain. But the reality is, it just takes discipline to understand what are priorities at the time and what are distractions. Okay, so think about what things I like to say, what things move the needle, what things keep the business moving forward, what have financial implications. Those things are priorities and should be done first. Everything else can wait. So let's just keep focused on things that actually will move the needle.
Yeah.
The rest of them are distractions, and they can come after.
Mm-hmm.
Not that important.
Absolutely. So, do you encourage your people to do things such as putting their phone on do not disturb, turning off, alerts? Do you, encourage them to maybe do, I call them, bubble time where it's tight bubbles of focus, maybe 15, 20 minutes where they're in a focused zone. So what are some of the best strategies that have worked for your clients to help them again stay in the zone? So once they have the priority, how do they stay in their lane and not get sidetracked with the squirrel mentality?
Yeah, it depends on the person. Everybody's different. Some people need more hand holding than others do. Um, some people have to be locked in a room, with no phones, no email connection. They have to just sit there and do the work. They have a laptop that has their Excel spreadsheet on it, and that's all they can do. Other people who are more disciplined, who can who can say, yeah, okay, the phone's ringing, but I'm gonna ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can do it for 15, 20 minutes at a time, fantastic. If they can do it for an hour, even better. So it
Yeah.
depends on the person, and it really comes down to just setting up, like you said, small pieces. Start small and work from there. 15 minutes, do some work, completely ignoring everything else. Okay, and then move on. Make it a half an hour the next time. Make it 45 minutes the next time. Step
Right.
into larger blocks of time and train your brain to understand these things that come up are distractions, not priorities.
Absolutely. One of the statistics I found is that we actually lose about 2 to 3 hours of productive time each day in distractions. And even though we might have the best intentions, sometimes it's the outside world that is trying, to come in, and we have to be good at setting boundaries. One of the things that I have started doing is even setting expectations, letting my clients know if you can give me 2 or 3 hours to respond to you. That way they're not afraid to go into my voicemail or my email. Can you think of, for even just yourself, what are some boundaries that you put into place either for your family, your clients, your teammates that help you to stay in those tight bubbles of focus so that when you have a priority, other people are not trying to infringe on those?
Right. Well, so the morning is my morning, and that's what it is. Outside of a natural disaster, um, don't come talk to me, in the morning, because
Mm-hmm.
that's when I'm working on things. My schedule in the afternoon is a little looser, so I'm much more open to doing things, different things.
Right.
So I think that 2 to 3 hours it's probably generous. I bet it's more than that,
I know.
and especially most people. But yeah, it takes discipline, to say, we're going to block out this amount of time from this time to this time, and expect that I'll get back to you within an hour, 2 hours. Service level agreements.
Right.
Put those in place and tell people expect that within this kind of thing within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
The thing within 2 hours, within 12 hours, whatever it is. So
Absolutely.
it depends on the thing, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, setting expectations with people is good.
Absolutely. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, it starts with us. Again, get clear for ourselves first on what the priorities are and how we best work. Again, what are the distractions that we know are out there for us? And maybe, again, is it going to be smaller time frames? Is it going to be a morning time frame, kind of like you said? So, get that clarity for us and then communicate and set the expectations with our teammates, with our clients, so that everybody is working. And also, I think explaining it to them, I need to be doing these things, and this is how it impacts the bottom line, and make them a part of it. Because if they know that your time is spent on the income generating actions, which benefits the bottom line, we're all going to win. And also, I think encouraging them to do the same and respecting their boundaries as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
That is fantastic. People, once you explain things to them, they're fine. Everybody wants to know why.
Yeah.
As long as they understand what the why is, they're usually fine with explanation. If you say, well, it takes me an hour to get back to you because I'm working on these other things at this time, so give me an hour and I'll get back to you.
Absolutely. And
This
many
way,
times
why?
I put it in language that they understand. Just like I'm here with you right now on this appointment, it would be rude of me to be answering my voicemails and emails. I like to be present, for my clients even when I'm working on their projects. So just know, if you leave me a voicemail or an email, it's probably because I'm either working on your file or again with another client and I want to be able to give them the same level of respect. They understand that because they want the best from you. So
Mhm.
it's going to be again in the language. So I love this. And Rob, being that you help people with this, I know this is how you build your business. And I know that you build your business on the integrity of working with people. And again, you mentioned it before. Everybody is different. There is not one size fits all. And you really strive yourself on being able to understand the needs of your clients specifically and to build a program that's going to work for them. So, where is the best place for people to connect with you if they want to learn more about you and how you can work with them and help them level up their level of productivity?
Well, they can always send me a message on LinkedIn, Rob Tritt on LinkedIn. You can always go to my website is to get more information. It's profitpartnergroup.com. You can give me a call at 770-256-8216, or you can shoot me an email at rob@profitpartnergroup.com.
Beautiful. Rob, thank you so much for being here and, sharing in the discussion. Again, it's a matter of priorities. We know the distractions are happening, so let's get stronger at managing those distractions. So, for those of you that are following, thanks for following the show. Stay tuned because we are going to be back for even more. Be productive.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800-749-7781. That's 800-749-7781. Call now.
Este es Juan. Juan quiere su televisor nuevo y esta noche viene a su casa para llevárselo. Pero no si su hogar está protegido por Seguro en Casa. Disfrute la posibilidad de monitorear toda su casa las 24 horas del día, 7 días a la semana. No solo por robos, sino también por incendios, monóxido de carbono, inundaciones y emergencias. Una solución inteligente que combina la seguridad del hogar con la automatización y le permite controlar, monitorear y modificar su hogar y sus necesidades de seguridad para adaptarse a su estilo de vida. Arme, desarme o verifique el estado de su sistema desde cualquier lugar, en cualquier momento. Comience a disfrutar de protección integral para el hogar por tan solo $27.99 al mes, incluyendo equipos de seguridad gratis por un valor de $850. Llame ahora mismo e incluiremos esta tarjeta de regalo Visa de $100 como nuestro obsequio especial para usted. Llame al número que ve en pantalla ahora mismo para proteger a su familia.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Be Productive. One thing that I have learned is that we get distracted. In fact, studies have found that we get distracted about every 3 minutes. And the scarier fact is it takes us almost 20 minutes to get our focus back. So it's not a matter of just knowing the distractions are out there. We've got to learn strategies to help us face them and manage them. And to help me with this conversation, I am bringing in our guest. And this is Mark Lempew, and he is the CEO of the South Jersey Treatment Management Company. So if there's anyone that knows how to bring a team together and help them be productive, this guy is it. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show again.
Yes. Well, let's just get into it. Distractions. Talk to me about why distractions are so critical for us to pay attention to and how they impact our ability to be productive.
Well, I mean, I think it goes with everything. And, just like it goes with, we have an admissions department here, and you treat people with mental and behavioral health issues. So it's a very fast-paced environment. We have hundreds of calls coming into our call center. So it's very easily to get pulled away or start doing something. And it happens to me about 50 times a day. I'll go to write an email. Somebody will ask me a question. I will lose track of what I'm doing. An hour later, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that email. So it's inevitable in fast-paced environments that you're going to be distracted. So it's very important to look at those distractions, the ones that are very key, that you can kind of regulate and have an effect on taking away, so to speak. You want to be able to do that effectively.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. The distractions are not going to go away. We can't just magically wish that they go away. And especially in an environment like yours, again, it's very fast paced. And in some cases, it's going to have a certain level of urgency and importance to it. But we have to also understand that too many distractions will keep us from achieving things. So, you kind of mentioned this idea of sort of regulating them, maybe paying attention to the ones that we need to lean into, maybe some of the ones that we don't. How have you been successful at maybe identifying when something is a valid distraction and when something maybe is an invalid distraction that we need to not lean into?
Sure. One of the main things, so I just recently took over as CEO here back in March and did a complete restructuring of the company and the facilities that we have. And that meant letting go of some people, replacing those people and adding staff. And one of the things that was done here in the past, and we're all, I think, as like owners of businesses, wanting to do because it's a cost savings, is give people in roles dual responsibilities. Well, this person does admissions, but hey, they can help out collecting payments, so I don't have to add another person. So then that distracts them or takes them away from their primary responsibilities. And then what ends up happening is those primary responsibilities start not getting done appropriately because they're being pulled in too many directions. So one of the things I always try to do and have done here is try to keep the responsibilities to each staff member and their job, title, and make them known what their job and their responsibilities are. And if there's a need in other areas, look at the person that you need for that role and make sure it makes sense to add somebody else instead of giving those responsibilities to another position.
So good. And, I don't think we can underemphasize the importance of communication. One of the reasons, like you mentioned, is people get unclear in their job roles. They're like, well, am I supposed to do this or am I supposed to do this? What is more important than that? So I think really taking some time from a leadership standpoint to make sure that your team, your employees clearly understand this is your job description. These are your primary roles. And like you said, not dumping so many things on top of them, or if they do have different roles, again, helping them to prioritize, whether it's in the morning, it's this, in the afternoon, it's this, or, putting that, because again, that kind of confusion can stop people in their tracks when they don't know or when they're trying to multitask, because we've all learned that multitasking doesn't work. So as a leader, if you are seeing one of your team members struggling because you're noticing that they are getting distracted, what are some ways that you can provide them purposeful feedback in a way that's going to support them, help them, and maybe get them to understand a different way of doing something?
Sure. So, we'll pull employees, aside, whether it be the department head, myself, if I'm involved, and put them on an action plan. Actually communicate and talk to the employee and find out what are some of the things that are making them distracted. Is it something that we can take away? There's a lot of remote work being done now. So also communicating with the employees. Some people work well in a remote environment, some work well in an office environment. So it might be as simple as like, hey, there's a lot of distractions at home, you're working remote. Why don't you just come into the office a few days a week? Whatever those distractions may be, whether it may be silencing the phone. But we put on action plans here and help kind of coach them and really kind of put their job responsibilities out in the open, put them in writing, make sure they understand what they are and they're following them, and also adjusting based on their needs. Because everybody's different. And
What I really, really love, and I'm hoping that people keyed into what you said, is as a leader, you are really observing your people. You
Mhm.
are not only paying attention to are they getting things done or not done, you're really paying attention to their individual needs. Like you said, what is distracting them? What is the type of environment that they will thrive in or possibly could hinder them? And you're helping to tailor these. So I love this idea of not always making it one size fits all, and that's not always possible, but when it is, again, really helping to customize some of these solutions for them, I think is absolutely huge in putting these together.
Yeah.
So that's really great. I would love to just also, ask, do you have any specific maybe strategies? I know for me, like one of the things that has helped me most with my distractions is I do something, I just call it bubble time. It's not necessarily a new thing, but the idea is I have a segmented period of time. I find for me 45 minutes works well. And I'll go into my bubble for 45 minutes and I will work with no incoming distractions. So I don't answer incoming calls, I don't answer incoming emails. I just focus. Are
Mhm.
there any other strategies that you have seen that work for you or maybe for anybody on your team that has helped to minimize or manage some of these distractions?
I know for me, it's I have I'll just close my door. I have a do not disturb on my door.
Mhm.
So when I need to really focus and I need to, like, for now, for instance, I can't have any distractions. I have a whole emissions team working right outside my door here. It says do not disturb and they know, and I communicate with them like when this door is shut and the do not disturb's on, I need that time to do the things I need. Um, you know, calendars. I try to keep a lot of my tasks on calendar so I can, follow what things I need to do throughout the day. That
Mhm.
always, that's flexible and that changes, but at least it gives me a guide on the responsibilities and timelines I have for certain things. And it's the phone. I shut the phone ringer off when I don't want to be disturbed.
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that.
Great. Those are fantastic. And again, it doesn't have to be complex, just these simple things. I know one of the first things that I did, early on is even just putting my phone in a drawer or again, putting it
Mhm.
on do not disturb. At the time, I was working in a traditional office with landline phones, and I would do the same thing. It comes back to that communicating. I would, let my front desk know, I'm going to be unavailable, for this time. And I think, being that and as a team, and I also think as a leader, we have to model the behavior, we have to explain, and we have to also empower our people to incorporate some of these. Again, not as a detriment, but as a way to enhance them. So I can tell you take a lot of pride in your work and also in being able to support your team. So if people wanted to learn more about you, your company, where can they find you and learn more about you?
I have a personal website. It's www.marklamplu.com. And then our company website is www.sjtmc.com.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I know people struggle. I have heard it that we could lose anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day in distraction. So, being able to face these and have strategies to help manage them are really going to bolster our ability to be productive. So, for those of you listening, again, make sure you're being aware of these. You can't stop them, but you can find a way to face them and also manage them. So, stay tuned because we'll be right back for more Be Productive.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
What if you could make a free phone call and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Right now, you could be paying as high as 20% interest. Your new interest rate could be reduced to as low